We are friends, you know. Hey, the broadcast is live. Watch what you say, Niz.
We're ready to roll.
Live mic, live camera. Look out.
Hot mic.
Hot mic. Here we go. Here we go. Ooh, hot mic.
No, I'm ready to roll here. I'm ready to talk some Packers, huh?
How about that? Brian Niznansky, he can do it all. He can do weather. He can do sports. I think we need to throw you into a news role at some point.
No, don't get any ideas. Well, no. Maybe there's certain.
Come on, man.
I can hear if the managers are watching right now. They're thinking of the ideas right now. Hey, however you find me useful, that's fine. But hey, weather and sports came together yesterday because I'm sitting in my garage, right? Okay. And I'm watching. I got the TV on in the garage.
I saw the setup. It's sweet.
Yep, it's good to go. And all of a sudden, here comes those storms rolling in. So it was fun watching the Packers. I'm excited about that. I got a storm to my right watching that. I was in heaven.
It's like your day, man.
It was my day.
You had the pocket protector for the old folks. You know, he's nerding out on the weather, and then he's got the sports thing going on.
Severe storms rolling through, trees going down, and I got the Packers with the W. So everything was good. I hope everybody's okay, though, with the storms. I know winds picked up pretty good.
Yeah. And I do understand, and it's no fault of who was carrying the game and stuff like that, that some people did lose a little portion of the game just because of the weather and things like that were going on.
Yeah. Well, missed a little portion of it, but I held strong, even though there was a while there. I was watching, and we closed the garage up, obviously, when the storm rolled in. But, it was windy. I was down in Bayview. They had tons of trees down this morning.
I had people asking me, so we're in Franklin, as you well know, Niz, we're on the other opposite end of where you guys are. You guys are like tea and crumpets and, you know, the beautiful people of the world, and we're kind of
us North Shore.
We're the common people down on the South Shore area, South End. But I had people asking me this morning, like, did you have storm damage? And we had two really good, like, came down hard, quit, came down hard, quit in Franklin, and really no storm damage that I saw or that I can speak of.
They were quick. They didn't really produce much rain, but they moved through pretty quickly. And the damage was sporadic throughout southeastern Wisconsin. But where you did get those gusts of winds, it was enough to knock some trees down. But let's talk Pack.
Well, let's talk Pack, and just to transition into it, if I can get your expertise on this too.
Sure.
Let's talk Pack, weather, Tampa, where a lot of people thought, okay, it's not going to be like the blazing hot Tampa that we've seen in the past. Yep. But then, and not to get too crazy graphic, but Allan Lazard, after his touchdown, did throw up. And there were guys that were visibly affected by the heat. And maybe explain, from your expertise and your opinion, like, these are like some of the most trained athletes in the world. They hydrate. I think the Packers, obviously a lot of the NFL is Gatorade or whatever, but Gatorade, water, hydration, whatever, but it still affects you, doesn't it?
100%. And I mean, without being a certified doctor myself, medical doctor or whatever, but like, I think something could be said that our bodies adapt, right? Yeah. I mean, like, there's a reason why same caliber of athlete, on Tampa Bay was not affected, but our guys were. They've been training in this environment. Their bodies have gotten used to this environment day in and day out, that their bodies have adapted to being in that climate. And I mean, that's whereas when come January, we're gonna have the same conversation about how when a team comes up to Lambeau Field, how are we able to handle that better than they are, and why is that an advantage of it? So, I mean, it wasn't like record-breaking heat, but it was still, I mean, you're talking near 90. Yeah. Super humid, really, really humid. I mean, that Florida tropical dew points well into the 70s. Put it this way, it was standard for Tampa, but it would have been an extremely very warm and humid day for us.
And that affects you. Like I freely admit, Niz, growing up in the state of Wisconsin, that my Midwest blood can only handle, like, temperature-wise, anything above 75, and I'm like feeling hot, and anything humidity-wise, 80% and above, I feel it because I'm just not used to that heat and humidity.
Yeah, and at some point, it doesn't even matter like how much you hydrate your body. If you're running, if your motors are running, if it's going nonstop and you're going nonstop, you'll burn away that quick Gatorade that you just took ASAP, like nothing. I mean, because ultimately, what is happening is, even though they are fine-tuned machines, they probably have the best nutrients, best dietitians possible. Yeah, they're getting dehydrated. You know, that's ultimately, you see a guy cramping up. Yeah. He's dehydrated.
Yeah. Like you wrestling ever seen. I mean, a finely tuned athlete, a machine out on the mat that nobody in your conference wanted to face.
Yeah, not quite.
No.
By senior year, I did have a little bit of fear in some people. But
the legend of
my first couple of years, I got
Yeah.
butt kicked.
Did you?
Bad, because I never wrestled.
Did they call you Fish? Well, my friend, they called him Fish because he flopped around on the mat so much.
I didn't do
I don't
that
think it's
much.
complimentary.
No, I just had to learn how to lower my, because I was this tall, and I'm not huge tall, but I'm not wrestler.
And what weight did you wrestle at?
I was 6'1", and I started my freshman year 125.
Oh my.
And then,
I
got to 160 by my senior year and bulked up a little bit. I hit that magical time of a young man's life where he, started to build some muscle and stuff. But I was pretty decent by my senior year. I didn't wrestle at all. I played basketball. And I got to high school and I looked at my competition on who I'm going to make the team with. Karan Butler.
I was going to say, Karan always told me that you dunked on him one time. Is that true?
No, not
He told me that you threw down on him one time.
Maybe Sharif Chambliss on the Packers. Sharif was part of the same.
Sharif's awesome.
Yeah, Sharif's awesome.
Tony Romo, you ever play him?
I never played against him, but Tony Romo was honestly, as you probably know and heard, was a better basketball player.
A lot of people thought he was going to play hoops at the next level.
But he's one of those guys who was good at everything.
Correct. Just a good athlete.
Good. I mean, the guy, he's a scratch golfer too and stuff.
So. Kind of like you. Weather, sports, wrestling.
I am good at weather, and that's about it.
A lot of things, setting up garage setups.
Yeah, totally. And watching the Packers. My Packers watching career has been pretty strong.
Yes, it has. And you know your stuff. I saw you put the stuff out on Facebook yesterday and all that stuff. You had it out there.
Thank you. I was impressed by the defense in the second half. I think, and you tell me your thoughts and of the game, but I think we got to get used to that. This is not going to be the Packers team that was putting up 30 to 40 points a week. Yeah, this is just not this is not that team. Yeah, it's not molded to be that team.
Yeah. So no, and we invite your questions. Anything that you have or whatever, just throw it out there. If you're watching this out there, my thing is dare I say, and it's kind of a little bit of a crazy statement when you still have Aaron Rodgers and you still have elements of the offense that are really, really good.
Yep.
But you could tell the transition late last year. Yes, they lost to the 49ers, but it was a super close game where almost every play mattered. Special teams somewhat cost them the game, but the defense played really, really well. And in the offseason, I kind of threw it out there to kind of stir debate, but also to make people think, is this now more of if you want to label it, for years under McCarthy previously and then LaFleur, they were an offensive team. There were no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They just simply rolled the ball out there, wanted to outscore you. Is this a defensive team? Is this more of a defensive team? Because, where's their identity, whatever. They have come out and shown, they're not going to play perfect games. The first game, a lot of people are like, where's this defense? And everybody's chattering about whatever. It was game one. But now they've put together 2 weeks in a row where it hasn't been perfect from top to tail. No. But when you allow your opponent just 12 points and 10 points, the Bears, fine, whatever. They're not that great offensively. But back-to-back games where you're only allowing that in today's NFL when it's a more of an offensive league, an offensive game, that's impressive.
Says a lot. Absolutely. Especially when the defense is matching a lot of empty series for the Packers in the second half. We're not scoring. We kind of stalled out a little bit, and the Packers were there. I'm still trying to adjust because we're going on now 2 decades of some really high profile offenses. But
when you have that type of a quarterback, you got to go that way.
Yeah. There's a chance that game could have opened up too. We could have jumped to 21 points very quickly if we didn't have the Aaron Jones fumble.
I was going to say the fumble I am a big believer in momentum, even though obviously NFL is the ultimate professionals, whatever. But momentum does seem to play a huge factor. So I agree with you on that. Yeah. And then the other thing is just now you get the spin from the other side. Was Tom Brady limited because he didn't have Mike Evans, and you had so many injuries on offense. And maybe to a degree, but I'm not one for excuses. I don't even think Tom Brady is one for excuses. He's like, we got down there, we scored the touchdown. Right. We should at least tie the game, if not win the game, but tie the game at the end and then play for overtime and win it. I don't think he's an excuse guy.
I agree, and Tom Brady is considered one of the greatest of all time for a reason, because how many Patriot teams did. He's just like Rodgers. He makes a lot of these receivers, right?
Yes, he does.
You know what I mean? So, sure, these Godwin's high profile, Evans is high profile. These are really good
Cole Beasley comes in literally off the street and starts catching passes and key third down conversions.
These are good guys. Yeah, these are good guys. But, Brady also will make let's say, a mediocre receiver look damn good too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And he's done that for his entire career. I mean, Randy Moss, when Randy Moss still had some juice in him, but Brady brought him back to another level.
Definitely.
After
he respected Brady enough that he played at that level.
Played at a different level. So I think we can look into that. They were down a couple guys, but I think we also were still facing one of the best quarterbacks.
And here's another thing is, and you know enough about sports to know this, like, okay, obviously defense doesn't play defense. That's not a revealing statement, but just being around that team, being in the locker room, you got the sense that the Packers defense kept hearing about the Buccaneers defense more than themselves. And they're like, okay, they have pride.
Yeah.
We're going to rise to the challenge. Like, basically, okay, we know the Bucs, we're not going to, basically disrespect them or anything like that. But we keep hearing about how great this Buccaneers defense is. We'll show you.
Right.
And I would argue that, okay, the Buccaneers defense definitely picked it up, but they did not play quite as well because they allowed the Packers to kind of get that momentum early,
right off
get a 14-3, whatever, and then all of a sudden, and then Devondre Campbell. I mean, what a signing last year, 14 total tackles, tips the pass, the 2-point conversion, whatever. I mean, where would this defense be without that guy?
Yeah, he's been rock solid. Yeah. I love Campbell. Rashad Gary's looking good too.
He's good. And Niz, okay, let's throw it out there. Maybe it stirs debate, whatever. You know how many people I heard when they drafted that guy? Oh, he was overrated at Michigan. He was the #1 overall recruit. He did nothing, whatever.
Right.
Well, where are those people now?
Right.
Seriously.
Even when he was drafted, the thing about him was raw talent, and it's going to take a little time. But Packers fans still didn't want to hear that.
They want it now. They want it now. Yeah.
It's like,
they want the microwave dinner. They don't want the 2-hour Italian extravaganza like your vacation. He fell to
us because he was that kind of raw talent, that the untapped potential guy.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing it, right?
Yeah.
And when's his payday? Is it coming?
Oh, it's coming.
Yeah.
Trust me, it's coming. Like Jair Alexander, those guys, sooner rather than later, if you feel like they're a core part of your team, you lock them up. And now, okay, you've got Jair Alexander locked up. You've got Kenny Clark locked up. So you probably want a guy at every level kind of locked up as far as like a longer term deal. And I would say he's next, wouldn't you? I mean, and they've got Preston Smith, obviously a little bit of a surprise that he came back on the 4-year, $48 million, whatever, but hey, they got him back, whatever. Yeah. So that's probably the next direction you go.
Yeah. I mean, I'd have to have the spreadsheet of numbers to figure out how much.
And I'm thinking off the top of my head too, but think about it, Niz, like, okay, let's say of their 5 biggest contracts, Rodgers is obviously #1. And another big contract.
Wait, he makes
he makes a little bit of money, just a little bit of money. And then Aaron Jones is obviously making some decent coin, and David Bakhtiari. But you could argue that they've sunk as much money in on the defense because you've got Preston Smith and Kenny Clark and Jair Alexander, and then you sign Douglas to a decent deal and whatever. So you've got as much, if not more money tied into your defense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's and then combine that with the recent drafts. I mean, we mentioned before, if now is not the time for this defense to start to excel. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, heavily weighted drafts in defensive favor. Yeah. Their free agent signing, be outside of Rodgers and Aaron Jones or whatever. Yes. Very much investment in the defense. So now it is time.
So let me ask the general fan question that has been asked, but it's kind of going around again is, do you, at this point with Sammy Watkins being on IR and being out at least, 4 to 6 weeks or whatever, at least bare minimum, whatever, and he's had injury problems. And then, Christian Watson, you don't know how long that hamstring thing is going to linger, whatever. Okay. Are you even more concerned? Because people have been concerned and throwing it out about the receiving situation. Are you even more concerned at this point, or is it somewhat a product of playing a really good Buccaneers defense, really good Bears defense, and they've got enough offensively that they can maybe do whatever?
I'm fine with it because I think even as the weather starts to take a turn for the worst, I think we're going to start to see that backfield shine even more. I think there's going to be games where all of a sudden it's going to be a 100 total yard game from Dylan, and then the next game it'll be Aaron Jones, and we're going to have a lot of that sprinkled in.
Yep.
I thought that was an impressive touchdown catch by Dobbs.
Absolutely.
I mean, about
one seen in training camp.
One of the toughest catches a receiver can make is that quick little slant on a goal line when you know you're going to get blasted.
And you're going to get blasted, and you got to fight to get into the end zone. like at first you're like, come on, you got to get that ball over the goal line. Like, okay, ball positioning, all that good fun stuff. But he eventually figured it out.
That's a tough 5-yard catch.
To break
That's the hardest 5.
Yes.
You're going to get blasted. And he hung on, he got it, and inched in for one more extra yard. Super impressed by that. Obviously, it'd be nice to get the other guys healthy again. But I think those guys were also – we went into the year thinking, okay, out of this group of 5, which ones are going to be the guys that do become the playmakers? And if injury dictates that, that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen.
Absolutely. All right. So once again, if you have questions, concerns, cries of outrage, protests from anything we've said or whatever, please drop it below in the comments and we will discuss that. And the only other thing I'm going to go ahead.
No, I had a couple more things. Speaking about injuries, I wanted to ask you, was there an update at all about Jair?
Nothing like specifics. Groin injuries to me are kind of tricky, and I'm not trying to sell the company line. We'll know more today when LaFleur talks at 3:00. But groin injuries, unfortunately, are the type of thing that sometimes kind of linger for a little bit. And when you play a speed position, that concerns me a little more than a big lineman.
Muscle, soft tissue type stuff. You don't want your speedsters having that.
So maybe, and I'm just guessing. Like you play the Patriots next, maybe you kind of rest him for a little bit, whatever, depending on the severity of it, and then go from there.
Dave, honestly, the cornerbacks outside Jair is next level, but outside of that, they fared pretty good that they can maybe get by.
Stokes obviously got kind of, well, I shouldn't say kind of. He did get torched by Justin Jefferson, and we can quibble with the game plan or whatever. But since that time, they've done actually a pretty good job and whatever. So let me throw the question at you that I was going to quick throw, Niz, and then you can wrap it up with whatever. Is if you would have said 2-1, obviously you had 2 division games and this big NFC matchup against the Buccaneers. You go 2-1, 1-1 in the division to start the year. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think because I think I probably would have thought they would have beat the Vikings and the Bears and lost this game. I going into Tampa, I just kind of felt like, obviously things changed a little bit with the injuries, but I just, even with that, I don't know. I did feel good going into it tomorrow, but like you said, looking in the beginning of the year when we're all putting our W's and losses.
Don't you love that?
Yeah, W's and losses.
Is that right? It's injuries and teams are better than you think or worse than you think.
I'd have to say most drafts of that, this one was an L. Yeah. So 2-1 and move on from there. I think also just typically, obviously first game has been a bad game for the Packers. 2 years in a row now? 2 years in a row. So, that was also a factor. I'll take 2-1. I think we're looking good here. It's good competition. I also think too, maybe the Bears and the Vikings could end up being decent teams too.
Bears are scrappy. Yeah. Lions yesterday, I don't think they know how to close, but they were scrappy. They kind of had the Vikings on the ropes, and I wasn't really paying attention to that game, Niz, and it was 24-14, and I kind of just wrote off the Vikings, and I'm like, oh boy, they're 1-2, whatever. And all of a sudden, they came storming back. Yeah. So the Vikings obviously have resolve with a new coach, and the Lions are scrappy, but maybe they're young and don't quite know how to close and seal the deal. So you've got teams like that.
They're scrappy, and I did watch a little bit of it was St. Brown he's a flashy player.
He's a good player.
On St. Brown.
Yeah.
And
he is injured, but we'll see.
See what happens. Yeah. Oh yeah. So he seems to have that, that
factor.
That Tyreek type of speed or playmaking ability and stuff like that. So I take 2-1. How about you?
I would too. I was kind of in your park. I don't know if I would have said necessarily it would have been Bucs loss, Vikings win, because it just seems like, new coach kind of revived Vikings. You didn't know what they brought to the table. And what you said before, the first game of the year, I was kind of like, well, okay, 2-1, more than likely they lose against Minnesota and they kind of rise to the challenge, Tampa, because it always seems like Rodgers, even though he doesn't want to completely say that I want to beat Brady, he wants to beat Brady and stuff like that. So, but I'm overall, yes, I just would have flipped the games and said kind of what happened.
2-1's fine. Let's just take care of business against the Patriots, and then do we go to London?
Yes. How about that?
That's going to be interesting.
It's going to be very interesting. And I also find it's interesting and maybe a little bit of bravado, but whatever, if you believe in your team, is Matt LaFleur is not afraid to do things differently. For example, yesterday, rotating the left tackles. We really haven't seen much of that in the NFL. It's not like it's the first time it's ever happened, but that is very, very rare. And Bakhtiari, I thought in the post-game interviews, was very open and honest, saying, yeah, it wouldn't have been our first choice, but we talked about it and we bought in. And hey, you got to give credit where credit's due.
Did you notice anything with Bakhtiari? How would you grade him out?
Like he played well. Okay. I mean, and I, you know what? I'm not an offensive line expert. I rely on like guys like Larry McCarron who played the position and what Niz, and 12-year veteran. And he said, honestly, on the broadcast, he said, I didn't see anything where the pressure came from Bakhtiari's side when Bakhtiari was in the game. And I think that speaks volumes for the 56% of the snaps that he had. So that's unconventional a little bit, or that's very unconventional, I should say. And then the other thing is the London game, they come right back and they play again. And reason being, LaFleur was like, I would rather have my bye late in the year in December because I feel like we're going to be a playoff team and whatever. Now, you're taking a risk because you've got a long stretch where, you come back from London and you got to get right back in the saddle and you got to keep playing games or whatever. That is a big time risk if you have injuries or if you have tired guys or whatever. But it also shows a little bit of bravado that I believe in these guys that we're going to be right back to where we've been the last few years.
I agree. I love it. I'm looking forward to it. I got to take care of Patriots. Obviously Patriots, big name, but it's if we're going to catch the Patriots, I like this year to catch the Patriots. I think they can handle business this weekend.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's 20 minutes of good solid talk, right?
Good content for the Packers. Have they sending you to London or no?
No. I know. I'm sad. What's up with that? I got relatives in Newcastle. Not that it's London, but I got relatives in Newcastle. It'd be kind of nice to go over there, Speaking of tea and crumpets, I'd get to live your life. You live Grafton, London. You have you up in the air.
I did just get back from the Mediterranean.
Yes, you did.
It's the first time I've ever been
out of this big baller vacation
out of this continent. 10-year plan for the wife and I. Nice. Something that we weren't able to do as a honeymoon and did.
I'm nominating Julie for sainthood.
Yeah, I really am. She did put up with me for about 10 days. I would say one thing I guess I can say about it is jet lag is for real.
It is.
I would say going there and skipping that hours is different than coming back. So like I'm going to actually pay attention more than ever. Just from going through that to realize, the training regiments of once they get to London.
True life story. My wife is a saint too. First time I go over there, like we went to Italy pre-kids, whatever. We had a layover in Frankfurt, Germany, and I was Amy had been over to visit her English relatives a couple of times, so she knew jet lag was real. Yeah. We landed in Frankfurt. I was like a zombie. I had stayed up all night on the flight, whatever. I'm like, I'm good. My body clock was like, hey, it's still daytime, whatever. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, we are waiting for our connecting flight from Frankfurt to Rome, and she literally had to almost pick me up and call me and throw me on the plane. That's how catatonic I was.
Now imagine having to go play some football.
Yeah,
and get back in the routine of it. It's definitely a thing. It's like you working a 24-hour Super Bowl championship without the
championship. I know you're a big Bucs fan. We'll talk about that some other time. But the Bucs, the night they won it all, I pulled the first all-nighter I've had since almost the college days or close to it. I kid you not. I slept on the green room floor for the morning blend, slept on the concrete floor, and trust me, my back and my neck paid for it because I'm getting old. I don't know if you ever take a cat nap somewhere because you get up usually way earlier than me.
The morning blend couch, when they had the morning blend couch, was
I should have done
my little.
Well, although they were using the studio.
Yeah, then you can't. Although it's shaped like a banana, so you have to
the old couch. So I went in there. I knew it would be quiet and I knew it would be dark, but trust me, after an hour and a half, my neck and back felt
awesome. Well, this was fun.
We're going to do it again, I'm sure.
Pack.
All right.
Yep.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.